Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back after the break. We'll continue with grammar, inshallah. This is Baytullah, house of Allah. The house of Allah. How do you say it? Baytullahi. In this lesson, we'll take mudaf, mudaf ilay. Baytu, the house, Allahi, of Allah. The house of Allah. Baytullahi. So, for bayt, you have to put dhamma u, and for Allah, the word Allah, you have to put e. Then the meaning becomes house of Allah. The same rule applies for names. This is the simple. Take simple examples like Abdullahi, the slave of Allah. Abdul Rahmani, the slave of the most gracious. Or Abdul Azizi, or Abdul Rahimi, Abdul Salami, Nasirud Dini. Baytullahi, Da'watur Rasuli, the call of messenger. Da'watur Rasuli, the call of messenger. Khalqullahi, the creation of Allah. So for the first word you put u, and the second word you put e. That's mudaf mudaf ilayh, to show the possession. Khalqullahi, the creation of Allah. Rabbun Nasi, Rabbun Nasi, the Rabb, the Lord of the people. Qawmu Hudin, the nation of Hud alayhi salam. See, you don't say Qawmul Hudi. Why? Because Hud itself is a specific name. So we say Qawmu Hudin, the people of Hud alayhi salam. Hukmul Qur'ani, the command of the Quran. So by studying these, I'm sure now you know how to show possession in Arabic. You put on the first word u and the second word e. This is a simple rule. We can know the details later on. Sometimes you can have double mudaf. So Maliku Yomi, meaning master of the day, and you have Yawmuddini, the day of judgment. So when you combine the two like a mathematical equation, Yawmu will become Yomi. So Maliku Yawmiddini, master of the day of judgment. So you may ask why it is Maliki Yawmiddin. Well, that Maliki is because, Alhamdulillahi Rabbi Ar-Rahmani Ar-Rahimi Maliki, that li is affecting, the preposition is affecting all the nouns. Sometimes mudaf mudaf ilayh is preceded by prepositions. For example, Ismullahi, the name of Allah. Ismullahi, the name of Allah. You add, if you say Bismillah, you add B there, or precede, you put B before that, then it will become Bismillahi. Similarly, Deenullahi, the deen of Allah. You put fi before that, it will become fi Deenillahi. Ashabul Fili, the companions of the elephant. If you put B before that, it will become Bi Ashabil Fili. Also note that Rabbuhu, Rabbuhum, Rabbuka, Rabbukum, Rabbi, Rabbuna, all those words are Deenuhu, Deenuhum, Deenuka, Deenukum, Deeni, Deenuna, Kitabuhu, Kitabuhum, Kitabuka. All these are mudaf mudaf ilayh. Rabbuhu, his Rabb. No, Rabbuhum, their Rabb. It shows possession. The Kitabuhu, his book. Kitabuhum, their book. So, instead of, for example, Rabbul Abdi, the Lord of the slave, we can have Rabbuhu, his Rabb, or Kitabu Waladin, the book of a kid or of a child, we can say Kitabuhu. So, when pronouns are there, hu, hum, kakum, ina, that also is kind of mudaf mudaf ilayh. When you have noun and pronoun. Well, this Rabbuhu, Rabbuhum can come as objects like Rabba. When these nouns, Rabb, Deen and Kitab come as objects, then you will have Rabbahu, Rabbahum, Rabbaka, Rabbakum, Rabbi, Rabbuna, Rabbana, and Deenahu, Deenahum, and so on. Similarly, if they are preceded by a preposition, then it will become Rabbihi, Rabbihim, Rabbika, Rabbikum, Rabbi, Rabbina, Deenihi, Deenihim, and so on. Let us practice mudaf ilayh, or look for these occurrences in the surahs that we have studied. The best way to analyze grammar and learn grammar is to check these rules in what you have studied so far. So in Surah Al-Fatiha, last 10 surahs and parts of Surah Al-Baqarah, the Ayat Al-Kursi, and the ending of Baqarah, ending of Hashr, just as you recite these and as you recite the du'as, just check where is mudaf ilayh. So as an example, we say Bismillahi. So it was Ismullahi, it was preceded by B, it became Bismillahi. Similarly, Rabbul Alamina, the Lord of the worlds, but because li is affecting lillahi, so it is affecting Rabb also, it became Rabbil Alamina. We studied Maliki Yawmiddin earlier. Similarly, in Suratul Fil, we have Rabbuka. We studied that, Rabbuhu, Rabbuhum, all these are mudaf ilayh. We also studied Ashabil Fili. Similarly, Kaidahum, their plot, Rabbuka, Kaidahum, Dinuhum, Kitabuhum, all these are mudaf ilayh. Similarly, we have Ilafu Quraishin, but it is preceded by li, so it became li ilafi Quraishin. We have Rihlatu Shita'i, journey of winter, but because it is an object, it became Rihlata Shita'i. Rabb Hadal Baiti, or Ta'amil Miskini, it is Ta'amul Miskini, but because it is preceded by preposition ala, it became Ala Ta'amil Miskini. We have similarly Rabbika or Shani'aka, or in Kafirun we have Dinukum, Dini. Similarly, in Surah An-Nasr, we have Nasrullahi, the help of Allah, Wal Fathu, and victory. Similarly, we have Deenullahi, but because we have fi there, so it became fi Deenillahi. Similarly, Rabbuka, but because it is preceded by Hamdi or Hamdu Rabbika, because it is Hamdu Rabbika, that's why it is Rabbuka has become Rabbika. We have similar examples that you can study in different surahs. Let us go to the second part, which is Mawsuf wa Sifa, adjective. Sifa is adjective. How do you mention an adjective in Arabic? Just study the examples and things will be clear. We have Baytun Kabirun. Baytun is house, Kabirun is big. So first you mention what you're talking about. First you mention the object, house, and then talk about its attribute. This is the way you do it in Arabic. You first talk about the object first. What are you talking about? The house. Okay, fine. Is it big, small, what? You mention it later on. Baytun Kabirun. This sifa, the kabir part, the second part, which describes what the object is, how the object is, has to match in 4 areas. First of all, it should match the number. So if you say Muslimun Sadiqun, a true Muslim, then if Muslim is singular, then you have to have Sadiq. But if you say Muslimuna, then you have to have plural adjective, which is Sadiqun, plural sifa, Sadiqun. Or it should match the specifics also, like if you have al there, al muslimu, then you have to have as-sadiqu, or al muslimuna, as-sadiquna. So it should match the specifics, whether it is general or specific. Similarly, it should match the gender. If you are talking about muslimatun, you should say sadiqatun, or al muslimatu, as-sadiqatu, or muslimatun, sadiqatun, al muslimatu, as-sadiqatu. And lastly, it should match the case. That is, whether it is in an, in, whichever form it is, it should match. So if you say baytun, then you should say kabirun. If you say baytan, then you should say kabiran. If it is baytin, it should be kabirin. Baytun kabirun, a big house. I saw a big house. Ra'aytu baytan kabiran. Because object is always in an form, the nasab form. Okay, so ra'aytu baytan kabiran. But if baytun kabirun is preceded by a preposition fi, the fi will make it in. You know that Bismillahi, A'udhu Billahi, Minash Shaitani, Lillahi. So fi baitin. It is not fi baitan or fi baitun. Fi baitin kabirin. So it should match the case. So if it is baitin, it should be kabirin. And if it is specific also, al baitul kabiru, ra'aytul baital kabira, fil baitil kabiri. So everything, if it is al, then this should be al. If it is on, this should be on, an, in, singular, plural. I mean singular, singular. And if it is masculine, it should be masculine, feminine, feminine. The sifa, the adjective that you are using, should match in all these areas. So let us remember these three sentences. Baytullahi, meaning house of Allah. Baytun kabirun, house big, a big house. And the third sentence, which you will study later on in more details, is al baytu kabirun, the house is big. So if you skip al there in the second one, then it becomes the house is big. But if you say al baytul kabir, it becomes the big house. Al baytul kabir is big house. Let us check these forms in the surahs that we have studied so far. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. الشيطان الرجيم. You see e. At the end we have al in the beginning, and you have e in the end. Ash-shaytani ar-rajimi. Similarly, ar-rahmani ar-rahimi, or Allahi ar-rahmani. As-sirata al-mustaqima. Al is matching, a is matching at the ends. As-sirata al-mustaqima. Similarly, tayran ababila, or asfin ma'kulin, or al-qawmil kafirina. Al-qawmil kafirina. And you have these matching in the last of Surah Al-Hashr. Huwa ar-Rahmanu ar-Rahimu, al-Maliku, al-Quddusu, al-Salamu, al-Mu'minu, al-Muhayminu, al-Azizu. So all these sifa are matching in those four cases. You can study more from what we have studied earlier. I mean the surahs that we have studied. And inshallah we'll see you in the next lesson. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ইসলামিক মিডিয়া বিডি সম্পূর্ণ সহিহ আকীদা ভিত্তিক একটি অনলাইন মিডিয়া। ইসলামের সহি জ্ঞান সবার মাঝে ছড়িয়ে দিয়ে দুনিয়া ও আখিরাতে মহা কল্যাণ অর্জন করাই এই মিডিয়াটির মূল লক্ষ্য। পরিপূর্ণ সহিহ আকীদা ভিত্তিক এই চ্যানেলটি সাবস্ক্রাইব করার জন্য সকলের প্রতি বিশেষ অনুরোধ রইল। আল্লাহ সকলকে উত্তম প্রতিদান দিক এবং আমাদের এই চ্যানেলটিকে কবুল করে নিক, আমিন। আমাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ youtube.com/islamicmediabd17 islamicmediabd17@gmail.com facebook.com/bd.selimhosen youtube.com/selimhosen আলহামদুলিল্লাহ। আল্লাহ সকলকে ভালো রাখুক, সুস্থ রাখুক, পরিপূর্ণ ঈমান এবং আমলের উপর রাখুক, আমিন। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহ।